Joining us now, member of both the Armed Services Committee and Joint Economic Committee, and ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, Senator Gary Peters of Michigan. Good to have you with us. We've got a lot to talk to you about. We'll start with Michigan. How is Michigan faring so far during this pandemic?
Well, as you know, Michigan has been hit very, very hard. We are at the top of the list in terms of hotspots. Detroit has been particularly hard hit. The African-American population here in our state that represents about 14% of the population, yet over 40% of the deaths. It's been absolutely tragic. We are bending the curve. Things are starting to get better. But then, of course, we had another natural disaster with major flooding in the central part of the state, in the Midland area, with 10,000 plus people displaced. So it's been some rough going here.
So tell us about the flooding there and what exactly happened with the dam and what needs to be done to help these people.
Well, we had a major rain event in central Michigan. Many inches of rain fell, and then two dams catastrophically failed, which sent a wall of water through the small towns in the city of Midland. Sanford, in particular, was hard hit. I had an opportunity to walk through the town, and it just absolutely devastating what happened. And it happened in a flash as the dam broke and this water came rushing through the town. The image that I will never forget, that image of just the destruction, and to think how quickly it happened and how people's lives were upended instantly at the same time that we're all dealing with a pandemic is certainly really a terrible, terrible thing to have happened. But the dams were actually were known to have structural problems. The federal government actually denied a license for one of the dams to operate as a power station because of problems with the dam, and those were not fixed. They should have been fixing the dam. They knew that if there was going to be a major storm event, the dams would likely not hold, and that's exactly, unfortunately, what happened. They didn't hold, and the water went through the town. So certainly we need to have tougher regulations that actually force these privately owned dams, and most of the dams in Michigan are privately owned, and most of them are over 50 years old, need to have maintenance done, and we've got to make sure we're doing that maintenance and spending the money now, or the costs are certainly much greater later when you have a catastrophe like we saw there.
What a tragedy. Senator Mike Barnicle's with us, and he has a question for you. Mike.
Senator, on this Memorial Day, we're sitting in a country, and you just alluded to it, about the dams being needing repair. We're sitting in a country where people claim that America doesn't build things anymore. You're not too far from the old Ford Willow Run plant, where in World War II, the B-24 Liberators were coming off the assembly line of that plant at the rate of 1 per hour. Detroit helping to win the war. What is going on? Why can't we get an infrastructure bill passed in this country to rebuild America today in 2020?
Well, we have to, but let me just pick up briefly, because I appreciate you talking about the arsenal of democracy. And now, as we are in this current crisis, you're seeing those auto companies now making ventilators and making masks, and also changing their production to deal with this crisis. And you're right, that's what we do here in Michigan. We know how to make things. We've got the best workers in the world, the best engineers, and we can make things. But to your point, we have to be investing in infrastructure, and we have to build it up to the standards necessary in what's going to be a very challenging environment going forward. We have to build resiliency in our infrastructure. We talked about the dams failing. They're failing because of a very strong weather event. And we know with climate change now that the weather we'll see more severe storms, and the magnitude of those storms will also increase in the years ahead. And at the same time, we have infrastructure that's old and that's deteriorating. We're heading for a very dangerous time if we do not step up and start fixing this infrastructure across the country. I actually did a report from the Homeland Security Committee, which I'm the ranking member of, last year, that talked about the significant cost to the taxpayers and the economy as a whole if we do not invest now. It is a whole lot smarter to start working on that now. We've got to have the political will to come together. Democrats and Republicans have to come together, understanding there is a cost to do it, but that cost is far less than if we wait and have the kinds of accidents or disasters that we have seen, not just here in Michigan, but across the country.
All right. Hey, Senator, really quickly, the president has been attacking Michigan repeatedly, attacking the governor, now claiming that Michigan's doing something inappropriate as it relates to absentee ballots. Tell us what's going on there. Is Michigan doing anything differently now than it's done in the past under Republican governorships?
Well, it's outrageous what the president has been saying about absentee voting and the ability for folks in Michigan to request an absentee ballot. In fact, in 2018, we had a proposal on the ballot, and the folks here in the state voted by a very large majority to have the right to request an absentee ballot for no reason. Prior to that, you had to be a senior citizen or verify that you were going to be out of town. Now anybody can ask to have a ballot sent to their home and vote. The president apparently doesn't like that, and yet it is the constitutional right of everybody here in Michigan to be able to exercise their right to vote, to have the ballot on their kitchen table, to be able to take time to think through the various issues and to vote. And yet this president is saying that is wrong. And the amount of hypocrisy is extreme, given the fact that my understanding is that the president, nearly every time he has voted, he votes by mail. Everybody in Michigan should have the right to be able to vote by mail as well. And it is all we're seeing from the Secretary of State now is she's mailing out applications to folks here in the state asking whether or not they would like to vote by mail. It is their right. And to threaten holding back funding for that is simply outrageous.
Well, not only is that outrageous, but it's outrageous of the fact that we still have a president that's in denial about climate change. And once more, we got proof that has literally destroyed what they say, 10,000 lives that has been displaced over this damage. Let's go back. Let's go back real quick on the flood damage and see what. I mean, it's sad.
It already is released.
Hang on. I'll find it. Right.
Joining us now.
Right here.
In terms of hotspots, Detroit has been particularly hard hit. The African-American population here in our state that represents about 14% of the population, yet
5,200 deaths. 54,679 cases. God, I don't want to travel up into that area for no reason.
over 40%
If I was a truck driver, I would be hesitant of even taking a load up there.
of the deaths. It's been absolutely tragic. We are bending the curve. Things are starting to get better. But then, of course, we had another natural disaster with major flooding in the central part of the state, in the Midland area, with 10,000 plus people displaced. So
10,000 plus people displaced. If the people in Michigan hadn't woken up yet to this, towards all these signs that has befallen upon to their state, they probably never will. So sad. Once more, go back to the point of origin. What does the Bible say? The Bible says that to pray that we will either escape these things that are going to be falling upon to the earth, or pray that we can endure them, indicating that these things would be falling upon to the earth. And it has fallen upon to Michigan, with over 5,000 dead and now 10,000 displaced because of flooding. You ain't going to get much any worse than that. That is so sad.
it's been some rough going here.
So tell us about the flooding there and what exactly happened with the dam and what needs to be done to...
Which sent a wall of water through the small towns at the same time that we're all dealing with the pandemic.
So sad. So sad.
Now we'll see whether or not it's extended.
98,000 people dead. 580. That means 1,500 more people, and we will compass the 100,000 milestone era of people that has died because of coronavirus, COVID-19. And people see these numbers and they're not astonished. It's almost like they're mummified. They're calloused. Just like the numbers in Michigan. Worldwide, over 3 million people, 3.5 million people worldwide. Over 5.5 million people that has been contaminated with this virus. And we're not out of the woods yet.
In any other countries, it already is in place, as you mentioned, for parts of Europe.
In fact, protect the weak to make sure that people don't go out to adhere to the rules? Or do you think he needs to say he was in the wrong?
Well, I think everything will depend on the way in which things are done. And apologies seem to be something just to save your jobs will get us nowhere.
Once more, good luck to all of us. And shalom. Good luck to each and every one of us. Who knows what we're going to have to face? Who knows what we're going to have to endure before this is over with? Before there's a revival.